Testing audio, testing audio.
Yeah, I saw that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Phil Dixon, Chairman of the Board of Architectural Review, and we welcome you to our Board of Architectural Review board meeting. It's now 6 o'clock on the 2nd of April, and time scheduled for our meeting to begin. Depending on the size or complexity of a project, each applicant has the opportunity to present a conceptual or master plan for our review prior to committing funds for a full set of design plans and specs. Approval of a concept means that we might agree with the concept while disagreeing with some of the details. It also means that each phase of the project must be submitted at a later date once plans are more fully developed to obtain the board's final approval for that individual portion of the project. Hopefully, any disagreements will have been worked out before the applicant comes back before the board. One of the projects being reviewed this evening has been submitted before, and this project is now ready to be considered for further approval. For those of you who may be new to our meeting, our charge is to look at each project purely on aesthetics, design, architecture, height, mass, and scale, and in harmony with the historic district of the town of Somerville. We look at the overall street scene. Although we are not required to solicit comments from anyone or other than the applicant and board members, except for demolition requests, we usually choose to begin our meeting by project review with a public hearing to allow others to express comments that might help influence our decision-making before the applicant has presented the project and board members have resolved any questions they might have. You were asked to sign up when you first arrived and indicate which project. There were no signatures. No one signed up for this evening. As always, we will review each submittal in the order that it was submitted. However, as a first order of business, we must approve the minutes of our last meeting, which were sent to board members for review prior to the meeting. Are there any changes that need to be made, or do I have a motion they be accepted?
I didn't see any changes that needed to be made. Anybody else? I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
No, second.
Please respond. I call your name, David.
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yeah.
Nancy Jean,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
and mine is yes. The first project on our list tonight is 108 West South, 2nd South Street. Is anyone here to present?
Before we get started on these, I'd ask that the board consider moving item number 5 under new business to be under old business or immediately after 108 because they have the same applicant. Mr. Taylor is here to present both of those, so it's up to you, but since it's a good distance apart within the agenda.
Need a motion?
Yes.
I move we do the movement of presentations as you request.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Mike, you can go ahead.
Yep.
And I'll just.
Becca, someone came in late. Did they sign up to make a comment?
I didn't see who came in. Oh, were you here to make a public comment or present? Both? Not sure. Yeah, I pull it right before we get started. Okay, yeah, let me get it to you. Okay. Okay. Do y'all want to go ahead and get started or wait for them?
Yeah.
They do have a public comment. It's not on this it's not for this project, but
I think we should do public hearing first.
okay, Mike, sorry. Sit down. Mike's gonna have sore legs. So once y'all are done just writing your names down, you can just come up and address the board about the item that you'd like to address. Oh, y'all are presenting.
We're just wanting an approval for a tear down.
Right,
We don't
so-
know what it's called.
You'll come up when it's your turn to present, but if you're the back, so no public comment.
You still have the floor.
So just quickly to go over this before Mike answers any questions that you might have. This was a previously approved cottage that has just completed construction at 108 West Second South Street. There were a few details changed within the plans. On the front, it would be that transition detail from the foundation to the body of the house. Also the ratio of the windows, and we'll jump back and forth between the plans and the elevation so you guys can see. There was a window back here. Same thing with the transition detail on the body of the house. The ratio of the lights in the transom and within the door are different. The front door was, I believe, solid. And then again, the transition back here, and there were 2 additional window openings added. I'll hand it over to Mike to answer any questions you have.
Okay, good afternoon. Yeah, so the cottage is complete. It's right across the street. The transition detail, I believe you're referring to the band board at the bottom. The house doesn't have a band board around it. So this actually matches the house exactly like it is. I think it looks good. And it does match the house. Now, the front porch here does have a band board, but I don't think we have a picture of the other side or the back of the house, but the siding just comes right down on top of the piers. So the front porch on the cottage, it has a band board as well that matches the front porch of the house. So there's just the 3 sides that don't have the band board.
Can you go to the front backhead? Because like the most prominent view that I always see is going up the side where there is the porch and there appears to have a band board, but what is it like from the actual front? Not the cottage, the main house, if we're trying to say we're matching the main house?
So the front view you're seeing there with the 1x6s with the piers and the band board matches the front porch of the cottage exactly.
And did you submit a picture of your main house that showed the no band board on the, what is not really a street facing view? Do we have a photo of that?
I don't believe we do. That would be on the left side. Everywhere else, really, there's porches around the entire place.
Like there's porches a little bit on the back, like all the sides where people are.
Yes.
There, yeah.
Yes. So it's just that left side
Yeah.
that it just has the, oh, look at that original. That's nice. I should have left the shutters. I should have left the shutters.
Yeah.
There you go. You found it.
Yeah.
Except we don't have pink piers or pink
Yeah.
shutters.
Well, I'm open to hear what my colleagues have to say, but my first impression is that the existing home, as seen from really the streets that you're viewing it from, appears to have a band board because it's got porches wrapping it. And I do think it looks a little naked, the street side, without it.
Okay.
I know typically we've really talked a lot within our group about a band board trim and it being one of the architectural pieces that we ask applicants about and want to see. So I'm open to hearing how you feel with that change.
I remember discussing this when you came and submitted the plans originally.
Mhm.
And we talked about the band board at length.
We usually talk about it with every project.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a detail that we pay attention to.
So I was disappointed to see that you had been back to see if what you built would pass. How hard is it to go back in and add that? Is that possible?
Well, we know anything's possible. So we'd have to take off the first 2 or 3 rows of siding. Probably repair the house wrap and put the band board on, put the flashing above it, bring the siding back down on top, paint it, caulk it,
Yeah.
prime it,
Yeah,
buddy. Cut the corner boards off because they should sit on top of the band board.
yeah.
So, you know, it's doable. A couple $1,000s, it'll be done.
I mean, it's a shame because honestly, I drove past this just a few days ago and just thought the whole property is just looking wonderful.
Yeah, we've gotten a ton of comments.
Yeah.
So
You know, with
everybody,
the window
loves it.
boxes, your planters up, like it.
Yeah.
It truly looks beautiful.
yeah, I thought we'd went over the top.
Yeah,
So, the windows were custom made. Those aren't bought windows.
Yeah.
The lanterns, the shiplap,
yeah,
the brick steps, the wrought iron hand railing, the half round gutters, the band boards, the crown molding, everything matches exactly as we spoke about, all the window detail.
yeah.
Um,
You've done a really nice job with all those details.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I mean, I think it's a discussion we should all have because it's something that we normally want to see. We talk about it with every single project. He's done a nice job building this addition, but it is one of those critical details. Like we talk about the window sills, we talk about the window proportions, we talk about all these other details, but we always talk about the band.
Why didn't you do it the way it was first approved?
Well, to be honest with you, we got into the project and a lot of times, especially when you're doing an addition or you're building, a detached structure, you match the house. So a lot of this project was match the eaves, match the windows, match the brick, match the skirting at the bottom, match the decking. We talked in length about the columns and reusing the columns and just all the little details. And really at the time when the siding was going up, I had overlooked the detail. I just looked at the house and I was like, all right, we got the band boards, we got the brick, we got everything right. And then I walked around the side of the house. I was like, all right, the siding goes down on top of the piers. All right, we'll match the house. And even when you look to the right, the house to the right, I don't believe they have a band board either, but it doesn't matter with the neighbors, but it wasn't something that I did intentionally. Like I said, you know what, I'm just changing my mind. It's not gonna- So it wasn't done intentionally. It was just me really looking at the house and trying to match everything exactly. And this matches the house exactly.
Becca, when we did the first approval, the final approval, was it for all the way, the band board all the way around the house?
I mean, it's shown in the drawings.
I would think it would be around everything if it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it wasn't something that y'all discussed a lack of because the detail is there,
Mhm.
on all.
But it was approved for the entire
Mhm.
cottage.
Yeah, because that's what's in the drawings. Yeah.
I mean, I remember we talked about the columns, we talked about the front door and the proportions. Agreed with you on what you wanted to do, and your changes, I think, are all fine. Like, it all fits the character of a cottage, and I don't have any issue with any of your other changes.
I'm gonna be a contrarian here. I don't like having to deal with coming back and asking for forgiveness. But the reality, to my mind, is a lot of the smaller structures that are cottages in town are not finished with the band board, which is much more of a larger house detail. So I'm kind of splitting the baby there. But it doesn't offend me that it doesn't have a band board on this small cottage. It does. I do not like it.
Is it because, David, that you see on this particular building that it's a very small scale little cottage as opposed to a single family home? Like, is that part of your
Yeah,
thinking
but,
about that?
but also looking around at some of the older cottages in town, including the
Yeah.
one behind our house,
Yeah.
doesn't have a band board. So I'm just saying it's not like it was some crucial element left off, but I don't like the fact that we approved it one way and it got built a different.
I don't think it's offensive. And I can live with it, even though we hate to approve something that's been changed after we've already okayed a different version. But I don't think it's offensive, so I would have no problem with it staying and not replacing that. You want me to make a motion to accept it with the changes, even though they weren't the original changes that we approved?
And just to reiterate, just one more time to make it clear, it wasn't that I did it to just change my mind. Like I said, I just kept looking at the house and I was real specific with the guys doing the trim, with the double crown and all the little detail. You know, we just kept going to the house and I was measuring, and I mean, it was really trying to match the house exactly. So this wasn't anything I did and, you know, trying to change the plans on you. It just, I just kept referencing the house. So it was a mistake. But if you would accept it like it is, it would certainly be appreciated. And everybody that walks by wants one. So.
I think the house looks great too, and I'll second her motion.
First and second.
Hmm.
We have a first and a second to approve it.
I didn't hear it, but
Jane made a second to approve it
it looks like it is.
as it is.
Second,
I made the motion. She made the second.
okay. I'm sorry, excuse me. Oh, please answer for me, David,
Yes.
Beth,
No,
Rachel,
No,
Nancy Jean,
Yes,
And mine is yes.
And mine is yes.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So, well, let's make it so you can actually see it, huh? So this is just down the street a little bit, 113 West Second South Street. It's a request to renovate the exterior storefront, which I believe is actually the back of the building, but it fronts, West Second. The proposal is zoning compliant, follows general BAR guidelines. And I don't have any other comments. So Mike, if you want to explain the project.
Okay, yep, there it is. So I'm up here representing the owner, which is with us today. And we're looking to hopefully make this building look a lot better. There is like a fiber cement board that's been put over the existing brick. Behind that is some really nice looking carpet. And then behind that, they've got wood slats that are holding all of this together onto the existing brick. So there's two things we're trying to do: take off the siding and expose the original brick, which we've opened up a part of the wall to see that, you know, the brick is there. And it appears to be in good shape. It's white like the rest of the building. Another little detail is the door. You can see in the existing front elevation is not centered, which that drives me about crazy. So we would love to center the door. You can see how it lines up with the gable and the gable vent on the top. So looking to replace the door and slide the door in the center of that gable, and then trying to add something to the front of the building, plus add some light inside. It's very, very dark in the building. I was in there today. So looking to put some nice big windows on the front. I think they're scaled out at 5 foot by 6 foot. I've matched the header height with the door, which I've proposed an 8-foot door. And then the windows, like I said, would match the header height of the door. Would like to do a brick roll lock at the bottom of that window. And I've proposed a brick mold trim around the window that would sit down on that roll lock. And then all the other windows would really remain. I'm not exactly sure what's behind the siding around the windows. You know, that'll be kind of once we get into it, but the idea is it's all going to match and look the same. So we would also need to move the stairs over, and we had planned on using the existing metal hand railings, which we would just take those down and put those back up. So that's most of it. Sliding everything over, getting it centered, putting in the new windows, taking off all that existing siding, because the one buys have been either probably nailed, not Tapcon with the age of that it's been up. So everywhere the nails have been put in, it's most likely in a mortar joint, and, you know, we'll patch those holes, and then really just, you know, looking to keep the building white, like it is, just with the exposed brick, the other two windows, and the centering of the door and the stairs. And that's, I think that's pretty much the extent of it. The T111 at the top and the band board and the eaves, all of that's going to remain, other than just getting painted. So the biggest thing is the siding in the front of the building that we're looking to make some changes to.
Are you putting the metal awning back on?
I hope not. No.
I think the facade would look a lot better if you expanded that top step of the brick, so that you had a wider stairway going.
I would
up
agree.
there.
The person I had doing the drawings, they should have brought that out to the kind of more to the edge of the brick and had it tying in, not on the little trim around the window, but tying in the brick. So I agree. I think we need to move those railings out.
So, well, for ingress and egress too, it'd be nice.
On the drawing I've got.
Are you gonna put any,
On the drawing I've got. In
are you gonna put any signage up?
signage.
Yeah,
Yes, the person that's leasing the building is putting a sign on the front. I
We've
think it's,
gotten a permit for it,
okay.
so it'll be reviewed at a staff level. I think it just came in. I haven't looked at it yet.
okay.
Is it hanging sign or one that's flat?
It'll
on the
be
window?
up against the wall like the previous signs for the businesses before it, or
What will the building be used for? Is it an office or just like studio space, or what's the use, or is it just whoever rents it?
I think it's
it's a clothing
a
store.
clothing type apparel shop, yes.
It's a high-end dress shop.
High-end dress shop.
Hi.
Got
That's why we're
it.
making these high-end changes.
Understood.
Okay,
And the brick that's behind it is already white.
It is.
Interesting.
Yeah, we took off a couple of pieces, one on the front and a small piece on the right-hand side. So, yeah, it's just all white.
are the windows big enough for a clothing shop?
I'm not sure if I followed the question.
Just normally, people who are shopping want to, see something in the window to entice them in. I'm just wondering, is that something that I guess where I originally started was just thinking about proportions, like a wide or low window versus like a skinnier window.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wanted to try to keep the header height of the window and the door lined up. So
Right.
that got us to the 8 foot.
Right,
And then I kept it 3 feet off of the floor.
right,
So that's where I got the 5 foot on the height, and
Right.
then the width, it's 6. I thought it would look better, more wider than taller.
yeah,
And then when I went around to Short Central, there's windows that are almost exactly like that are over there. And I actually took measurements of those
yeah.
and kind of thought that
Yeah.
looked about right.
I'm just asking like less about, a little bit about architecture because it's how it looks on the street, but also just from the point of view of the street experience of customers.
Right.
And then the advantage perhaps to a business owner if someone gets excited about what's inside because they can see inside.
Yeah, when you look at how far above grade the floor is there, you're gonna be just about at eye level for people looking in there, I would think.
Like they'll be at the bottom of the window, maybe.
Eye level with the lower sill.
Right. Yeah. And the sidewalk kind of slopes there. So the farther
Yeah.
you go
Yeah,
towards the bank, the less you're going to be able to really
Right.
see. And really that top step as you see it from the sidewalk, I mean, that's probably 4 feet from the sidewalk to there.
yeah.
Um,
So- I often like using vertical shapes because that kind of fits in our historic district.
mhm.
And I'm just throwing out, wondering, I'm not really commenting specifically, but I'm just wondering if you have the door and then maybe you had 2 windows that were like showcase windows each side that were in a bit, but vertical.
Mhm.
It maybe could be quite wonderful for a dress shop, but it could honestly work for a lot of different commercial uses where you had that kind of. I'm just thinking it would feel more welcoming for customers to go to. So I'm just asking, I'm not really saying architecturally, this is not an improvement because clearly I like the brick and everything, but I'm just wondering if maybe this is the right solution for the use.
Are you building this basically as a spec, even though you have somebody coming in? Or is this what the new occupant wanted in the way of windows?
I don't think it's something that the new occupant really got majorly involved with the design of it. I think it's something that is, as far as the windows and the improvements, this isn't anything that the person leasing was saying, hey, I want these two windows. And I mean, that was you trying to dress up the building.
I'm the leasing agent. They opened their doors this Friday. It's called Collaboration. It's a beautiful women's boutique. And their request from Remax, who was the co-brokering agency, was to put two windows in the front of the building for visibility and for light. Looking at the building after Mike reshaped it, we got Laura Jones with the Jones Interiors look at it as well. That almost seemed to be the right thing to put over there. Because the way the sidewalk is, no one's going to peek in the windows per se, stand in the flower bed. That's a very interesting piece of property. But anyway, it's almost complete. It looks beautiful inside. I recommend everybody go take a peek. I think you'll love shopping there.
She can put mannequins in the windows also, from what she says. This lady's from New York and she knows what she's doing. Please go out there this weekend. So, I think that was for the windows and mannequins and the.
So I was just doing some quick math here. So we've got 32 feet. Trying to consider the two windows. We've got 32 feet. I would think the windows would need to be 3 feet off the corners. So 32 minus 6 minus the front door 3 is 23. And then we need to be off the door and the
Yep.
window by at least 2 or maybe 3.
Yeah,
So that's minus 6. That leaves us with 17 feet. Divided by 2 is 8.5 for possibly 2 windows. So if they were 3-foot windows, 3 and 3 is 6. So you might could get 2 foot in between them.
I'm confused, 2 foot in between. Oh, you're putting multiple windows on the side?
Well,
On
I
the-
thought you had mentioned,
I had thought 3, like window, door, window, a group of 3, which has nice balance. So I love your 3.
oh, okay.
So a group of 3, your door is 1.
Oh,
You can have windows on the side. And that perhaps if they were taller, you could have a mannequin with a whole outfit on. And if they were a little bit narrower and went lower, it could be. I mean, I don't really have a vested interest per se in that. What you've done is an improvement over what's there, and we would be happy to have it. I'm just wondering if we could also help this business owner, like really have people know what's there and excited to go in.
I agree. So we're 3 foot off the floor with the sill of
Yeah.
the windows now. I wouldn't think we'd want to get lower than maybe 24 inches.
Yeah, like,
18 gets us into tempered, but
yeah, but if you went to like 2 feet, then you could even have something up on a little stand in the window or, I mean, you could, because then that would give you a 6-foot high window.
it would be 6 by 6 if we left
Yeah.
it the width like
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
And if you wanted to, you could narrow it if you wanted to. I don't know what my fellow colleagues say. I'm just musing
Well,
out loud.
Well, I think if you're gonna have a retail shop, that you would want to have the windows not just to let light in, but also to display your merchandise better. And I'm not sure that this would answer that. That's not our call.
Yeah.
That's just a suggestion.
Go ahead, sorry. Yeah, so as it is, I mean, we've got 60 square feet of glass,
Yeah.
not counting the door. So,
If she's made the plans for the interior based on those windows, she may have something else that she wants to go underneath that, whether it's shelves or whatever. I kind of feel bad about our suggesting that the shopping would be better with different windows. It's really not our purview. It's the exterior. and how it fits into the community that we're supposed to be looking at. I am not someone who does retail shopping. I mean, that, creates retail shopping. So I'm assuming this woman knows what she's doing. And maybe she has a reason for the windows to be as you have presented that we don't know about.
Well, and actually, I've shared the drawings with her, so she's seen them. She's excited. I was over there today. She's got the flooring in, she's setting everything up. So
Okay.
I know she's excited about it. And I don't know what the plans are at the front, but yes, she does have man.
Okay,
Then I make a motion, we approve.
a second.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
The front door, what is it made out of?
Question. I wanted to use the fiberglass. It's gonna get a lot of weather and it's gonna get beat to death with the sun. The sun, I was over there today looking at it. So it's gonna get a lot of sun, a lot of rain, because we don't have that beautiful awning that's there now. So yeah, it's gonna get direct everything. So wood is going to split, crack, rot, and we certainly don't want metal. So I was gonna get a nice fiberglass door. I can get smooth or wood grain. So that was,
Is it gonna have glass in it or solid?
it's gonna have glass, yes, yes. And everything on the inside, she's got a lot of black accents and stuff. So I was, if we want to get into the hardware, I was thinking some black hardware on the front would look nice. And that would go with the black hand railings. And then across the front, there's that little flower bed that's got black there too. And the only other thing I thought maybe we could spray paint the foundation vents black and kind of, tie that in a little bit.
You could all, if you're gonna do fiberglass, you could also do the framing of the glass in black. Tie it all together. But
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, the jams could be. So, I mean, at this point, the handrails are black. The front of the brick are black. And the hardware on the door will be black. And other than that, everything else is white.
If I had a preference on the fiberglass, I would like a smooth instead of a grained.
Sure.
I mean, if that's.
Yep.
With everybody else.
Yeah.
If it's susceptible to all that weather, would it be helpful to have maybe a little awning over that door? Or is that's something that can be put in later?
It can, and I'd be thinking something a lot nicer than a metal awning.
Yeah,
The ordinance allows me to approve awnings at a staff level, so they could add it later without having to come back before.
or like a canvas, whatever. So
yeah,
that-
you might even look nice to run a awning across most of the front.
I totally agree. I think if you're gonna put one, it should go across the windows, the door, everything.
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, I'm not requiring it. I'm just asking.
No, I agree. It would look nice like that. Yeah. So I think this is step one in the right direction and then, go from there.
Well, we've got a motion in a second.
All right,
Alright.
I'm sorry I interrupted, but I just wanted to have that
That's all right.
question answered.
Mhm.
Please answer for me. David,
Yes,
Beth,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yep.
Nancy Jean,
Yes,
Jane,
Yes.
and I say yes. So wish you well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Our next item is 312 South Hickory Street.
Hello.
Hi there.
So just to go over my staff report quickly, this is for a new pergola that's being located in almost the exact same footprint as the previous structure. I believe the existing pergola was detached and now the new one will be attached. They have a pool being installed right now, so it's part of their backyard area. And I can get. So here's the location.
Yeah, and on that diagram, it's kind of dashed lines in there.
There we go.
Say a few things now. Thank you, Mrs. Zimmerman. Yeah, I have a few notes, just a couple highlights here, so forgive me for reading. Yeah, as Ms. Zimmerman said, it's going to be, there's an existing pergola there previously. We're replacing that. The pergola that was there, we painted it several times, but it's had some rot and stuff of that nature. And as Ms. Zimmerman said, it was a freestanding pergola, so it had 6 posts, 3 in the front towards the back of the yard. You can kind of see them there in that picture, and then 3 back against the back of the house there. With the new pool coming in and everything, 6 posts is taking up a lot of real estate right there. So we wanted to put a new pergola in place with 2 posts, sort of a lean-to. So the back side of it would attach to the back of the house right there, and then come out with those 2 posts to give us more floor space, if you will. It is in the back of this house. It's a non-historic home. I think you saw some of those pictures there. It's a brick house. And you can see the driveway there. I guess it's on my left-hand side. I'm assuming it'll be on the same for your image that you're seeing as well. But that driveway goes way back the entire length of the property. So you cannot see the backyard. You cannot see this pergola from the street. The only way really that you can see it is to drive all the way back towards that garage. And or it may not be evident in all of these pictures, but the entire lot has woods around it. It's completely wooded around. So you would have to climb through the woods or peek over someone's fence or something like that to see the pergola, as it were. And yes, this would be with hardy plank. We would paint it white, which was existing color as well. And it would be a metal roof on this one versus an open pergola slats like we had here, because there's a spa area that we want to put underneath. And so to give that some shelter from the rain, if someone wanted to enjoy the spa during the rain, that metal roof would be a slate gray color. And it's still roughly the exact same size as the pergola that was there. It might be maybe just a foot longer or something like that.
When you say longer, you mean from the house back or this way?
From the house back.
Okay, so it's a foot deeper than it used to be.
I don't have the exact dimension. I apologize. It'll be on the stuff there. With the other pergola though did go past. It's roughly in the exact same spot.
Yeah,
I'm giving you non-layman math right here.
Yeah. I don't have any comments. Does anybody else?
I'm fine with it.
I make a motion, we approve as presented.
Second.
Please answer for me. David,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yeah.
Nancy, Jean,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
and mine is yes.
Thank you. I'll have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next project is 214 West Carolina.
So just to go over my staff report, I included the 2 sections of our historic district guidelines that address demolition. So it looks from what I could find, and of course the Baggetts will be able to explain and answer any questions about this if I have anything wrong here. But it appears that the building was in habitable condition in 2007. This building that's being requested to be demolished, it's a secondary cottage, secondary structure. It looks like the building may have started to have roof issues surrounding the chimney in 2015. With the condition worsening over time, it appears the building has been open to the elements possibly since 2018. It's unclear if salvaging the building or any associated materials would be possible. I have both of the historic district surveys for the cottage in particular from 79 and 96, citing that the structure had 0 historical significance and was estimated to being built around 1900. And it appears that the Baggetts have owned the property since at least the 80s.
Yeah, Dave Baggett, this is my wife, Mia. Yeah,
I bought this property in 1982. And at that time, this cottage was there. And through the years, you know, we used it in various capacities as a bed and breakfast at one point and then as a rental unit. But then there was a point in time where it just sat empty and that's where the problem occurred.
Over on it.
It's a simple structure with a flat roof and it's underneath one of the best oak trees in town. And that causes it to be covered up with leaves where ponding occurs and then leaking. There was about a 7-year period where I was away from this property because of a divorce, causing my first wife to actually gain ownership. But ultimately, I got that back. But there was a point in time where I was not really supervising anything going over the little cottage. And that's where most of these problems occurred with major failure of this, of the ceiling. And exposure of the beams that form the foundation is major, including a lot of termite stuff. We had a builder look at it and he was saying it's a mess because you've got to lift it off the foundation and then move it. It would be very expensive. So we're hoping to gain permission to demolish this structure. We remove all the debris and make it look nice, you know, with the new fencing and that kind of thing and landscaping. We've been in the middle of a restoration project of our big house, the 216 West Carolina. And we have it on the market, but the problem is almost anybody that mentions this cottage, they're saying it's a negative for them. And so it's an economic hardship for us. And I think an eyesore for the neighborhood and perhaps a dangerous area for children to think they can go because it would not be safe for anybody to be in there.
We were hoping that whoever wanted to purchase the main house would be interested in restoring it. And we've had 4 offers and they all asked for us to demolish the building and not any interest in restoring it. If y'all know where it is, either it's very close to the main road. And so everyone that's looked at it said you really have to push it back to put any money into it. So it's just, you know, you need to start over on it.
So the cottage goes with the house.
It does.
It's on the same
Yeah,
lot.
right. They're feet away from each other. Like
Yeah.
40
We
feet.
actually tried to get the property divided so that we could sell the main house and then renovate this house. And we weren't able to do it because of the rules for the property size. So we gave up on it for that reason.
Becca, I just have a couple of questions for you. I'm just clarifying that according to our records, that this has 0 historic value.
The survey that I gave y'all that's up there, if you look at the page at the top where it says architectural merit,
Yeah.
there is a score on the 1979 survey that assigned it a value of 0 under that section.
What year was the main house built?
That
Were
is a
they
good
built two
question.
different times? They were
Yes,
years
yes.
apart. Okay.
Yeah, this was built, we have it as circa 1900. But I believe the main house was built a good bit before that.
1890 supposedly.
And then they built the cottage 10 years later.
And what I also just was questioning, when you look at the photos, there's that little A-frame building and then there's the shed on the side that had a parapet front. Is that what I'm looking at when it says that there was this shed addition on the right elevation and rear with a parapet wall?
No,
So it says alterations. It says shed addition on the right elevation.
that's referring to the main house. I read that too, and I thought the wording was weird,
Okay,
but it's addressing the addition to the main house, because
Okay.
there's,
so when we're looking at the thing that's being demolished or request for demolition, it looks like there's a little A-frame building, a parapet wall, a slope shed roof. That,
Yeah,
is that like, was it all built at the same time or was that an addition on an early?
It was before us and him. So it was like 3 different roofs. They're all
Yeah, it appeared to-
conglomerated.
It looks like they made additions to the original structure, which was quite small. That's where you have, I think you're talking about the gabled roof. And then the shed roof.
Shows in the
part of
back
that, I think an
slightly.
addition.
Like, can you go to what would be the front elevation? So we can see that?
Inside, it looks like 3,
Right.
3
So,
different add-ons.
so do you see there's that little, like that narrow little piece, little shed roof, and then there's the, like just a parapet wall with 2 windows? Was that little, like dollhouse thing, is that a separate structure? And I'm sorry, I didn't have.
You're
time
talking
to-
about, you're talking about this.
That's a difference.
No, I'm not
Okay.
talking. What I'm asking is on the slide 25. The thing on the left
With the door.
with the door looks like that's a piece that could have been built first and then had an addition added to it on the right side that had the parapet wall facing the street and then a shed roof sloping from that.
Yeah.
That little, call it dollhouse, to the side.
Here.
Right.
Except that chimney looks like a original chimney. So I think
Okay.
it was saying that width, and most storefronts were made like this with that flat front like that. So it's probably, that part was probably original, in my
Hmm.
opinion, when you're looking inside it.
So was it a store?
I think so. I think it was a little, so I don't want to make it worse for us because we were actually told that it was a tea tasting or some kind of little commercial property at one time. And we thought there was some historic value or history to it. So we wanted to save it, but we've been told that it was just kind of rumors, but
And so how did it start getting in disrepair, did you say? It's because of the
It's just
flat
flat
roof?
roof.
There's a period of time where no one was living in it or no one was reporting to me about the condition of it.
But
And
even before that, it was a flat roof and they replaced it flat roof and they were told they needed to replace it the same way, which I think was ridiculous. So it happened again. And they renovated it twice.
And so
inside.
you just weren't around to,
Right.
Right.
It happened
You
again,
weren't
right
in-
around the chimney. It all just started rotting and black mold and,
but you were the owner.
that's correct.
well,
And I'm the owner of the property now, the big house.
And you were the owner at the time when it started getting in disrepair or?
actually not for that 7 years.
Yeah, there was a
Okay.
point in time where
But-
the house.
Okay.
was in my first
All right.
place.
I'm confused, but, okay.
And the relevance is, really, what is the relevance? We can't salvage it. So what do we need to do?
Well, the reason I was asking is if you had owned it at the time, then you would be taking care of it.
Right.
That's what I was
He
asking.
had actually renovated it before that and then it fell apart again in that 7 years that he didn't have it. He already hates that part, so we don't need to pound him with it.
I love old houses and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
we poured our hearts into this big house at 216.
Did you see it, by the way? Anybody see it?
Yeah.
And it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
5 years,
So
5
the-
years through
The
COVID.
little house being in this shape is an embarrassment and a disappointment for me too. But you know, I guess it just is what it is.
and I'm reading the report and it says, so this was done in 79. So even in 79, it said contribution to neighborhood, moderate, quality, fair or poor, like quality of the building.
Yeah,
Amount of alteration, extensive or complete, incidents in the community. It is called unusual. Architectural merit was excellent, good, fair, and it was good. But historic significance was none. So in 79, even at that point, it was not in amazing shape.
I wanted to
Or-
renovate it like a Creole style shotgun, and
Yeah.
make it adorable, but it is literally 3 feet from West Carolina.
Yeah.
And in front of that is a drain that never gets cleaned out on the street and it stays flooded all the way up to the door. So that stays wet.
Do you want to see that?
I hate to see old structures torn down, but I don't see that there's any significant hope for this where it is and then the condition it's in.
And our neighbors are so angry about it, you know?
Angry and that they're upset you want to take it down, or angry
No,
that
they
they've
want it
got this
gone.
eyesore
Mhm.
in their
I think it's an
community.
eyesore and
Yeah.
If it wasn't an addition to the historic district in 1979, it hasn't improved during that time. To me,
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you make a motion, David?
And it's sitting flat on the ground. So when we had it looked at, they literally were going to have to rebuild it. And by that time, we would need to push it back. And so it might as well be a new structure. But we are going to save the tub and the brick.
Well, I would move that we allow the demolition of this property, which unfortunately got that way through no fault of the current owners. And it doesn't, to me, appear to be reasonably salvageable.
I second the motion.
Excuse me. Please respond for yes, no. David,
Yes.
Beth,
Come back to her. she's
Rachel?
reading. Yes.
Nancy Jean,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
we'll wait and let Rachel, Beth.
I was gonna ask, the car that was left there for 10, 15 years,
2.
was that yours as well?
Yes. 2 years.
I was gonna call it two.
It's 2 years. Yeah.
Um,
What year of a car is it?
I don't know, it's
Yeah.
white. I just remember a little
2
white
years. We
SUV.
donated it to St. Jude's.
Um,
And what relevance is that? We're horrible people.
I'm gonna,
I'm just wondering, what relevance is that to this? I'm asking.
I was just asking.
Like what kind of people we are that we're gonna leave a car there? And I'm asking really, what does that matter?
I'm trying to figure out when the deterioration started with the house.
I'd love to hear more about that. Your thinking on that. I would love to hear where you're going and really where you're thinking of that.
I'm gonna abstain from my.
Mine is yes. So
Thank you.
I hate to see it, but
Yeah, we do too.
that's one of those things happens, unfortunately. So
I'll send the certificate to y'all tomorrow.
Okay, thank you so much.
Should.
Right.
the next one is 513 West Carolina.
All right, so this is a request, excuse me, to build a detached pool, cabana and garage structure. The proposed construction is zoning compliant. It will not be visible from the right of way. The details of the architecture for the proposed buildings mimic the primary residence and appear to follow general BAR guidelines. So you just tell me where you want me to jump and.
Sounds good. Hi, my name is Amber Ahmet and I designed the garage and cabana for the homeowners at 513. This is a great place to start. Thank you. This is the existing survey. And here you can see that we inherited an existing concrete slab. The homeowners moved here in 2021 and we're excited about the potential to put a 2-car garage. They've got small kids, and so the ability to not only park cars under covered parking, but also house all of the things that come with kids, the beach gear, the sports equipment, bicycles, etc. So proposed site plan, this is the proposed two-car garage that I actually made a smaller footprint. You should see a dashed, or, well, if you go back to the proposed site plan, there's a dashed orange line. That's the existing slab. So I'm proposing to actually shrink it, just make it exactly what we need it to be rather than bigger than necessary. And then the idea that we would then, while they're out there disturbing the site, go ahead and put in a pool. So in terms of pool siting and location here, that was carefully considered. The homeowners wanted the pool to be within a sight line of their bedroom, the living room, and the kitchen. Again, they have small kids, so sight lines and visibility was imperative. The site shape also informed that location. It's a really deep lot and has mature trees to the rear, so we wanted to honor and preserve those. So it made sense for the pool to stay sort of snuggled up to the house and then adjacent to that garage and proposed cabana. You'll go to the next sheet. So here would be the layout of the two-car garage. They do have a golf cart. They wanted to sneak some access into the side of there so that they could pull in a golf cart. You can see there's some louvered storage and a little powder adjacent to that pool, an outdoor kitchen, and then a small screened cabana porch. We can go to the elevation. In fact, actually, I'll go to the site photos first, just so you can see the level of visibility. That's perfect. So as you're approaching in either direction, say you're traveling north on West Carolina, you can see the density that really obstructs your view down that driveway. Conversely, if you're heading south, the primary residence would really obstruct your view down the driveway. So we have very limited visibility. And then some of these pictures, you can see details of the main house that we are borrowing for that proposed structure. No worries. All right, go sheet A 2.1, perfect. So as stated, elevation A is really the only one visible from the street. And as you saw in some of those site photos, the primary house is made up of gabled roof lines with some sheds that are more secondary massings. And so we started with a gable and decided that it made the garage too tall. It just felt a little taller than it needed to be. So we decided to look at a hip roof line, which enabled me to change the pitch so that it could be a little bit lower, and therefore the overall height could be a little bit lower. And then, you know, this is just an effort for this to be reinforced as a subordinate structure on the property. Will you pull up a street view? I'm actually looking for 503 West Carolina. Perfect, thank you. So this house is 503, which is 2 doors down. And here you can see a hipped roof, those smaller hip projections, and then some dormers on that second story. So this is just 2 doors down. And, you know, when we decided ultimately to pursue the hipped roof line, I wanted just to point this out, that it is in harmony with the streetscape, as this is just 2 doors over. If we can go back to the elevations. And because we inherited that concrete slab and I'm pinned between the house and the side setbacks, we are forced to be a front-loading garage bay. So The ordinance stated in the event that this is an inevitability that we put carriage doors here. So that is what we've proposed, the 4-panel carriage door garage bays. And then the other architectural elements are those echoing the house. We've got standing seam. There were some exposed rafter tails at the main house that we've borrowed. We'll do 6-inch lap siding, painted corner boards. And then the other elevations are not visible at all from the street. So we hope that you'll find this discreet and designed in harmony with the streetscape and a nice companion to the primary structure.
Did you say the garage doors were going to be carriage doors? They're going to swing out, or are they?
They will swing out. Yes, sir.
Wonderful.
Nice.
I like everything that you've done, and I especially like that the scale of this with its hip roofs really does allow the main house to, be the dominant massing and character, and that this just settles quietly in the back and creates a great space. So well done.
Thank you very much.
And I appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
It was clear.
I appreciate that.
Well, if there's no comments, I make a motion, we approve.
I'll second.
Please answer for me. David,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Nancy Jean,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
and mine's yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's relax.
Next one, 118 West Richardson.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Brendan Gilbert with Gilbert Lee Construction.
I'm just gonna go over my staff
right.
report real quick. It's okay. So obviously I'll let the expert on the project walk you through everything, but just to go over my staff report quickly, most of this project is necessary work for what we would call a tenant upfit, build out, shell. So this space is going to be 2 spaces now. There is very minimal work that affects the exterior. The building was built in 2013. So there is a request to paint the building white. And our ordinance, or excuse me, our guidelines do point to not allowing painting brick unless it is historically, you have historic evidence of that. There really wouldn't be historic evidence for this because the building was built in 2013. Everything else is zoning compliant. The applicants have been great about working with the town staff and Somerville Dream to create a plan for when this all gets started, because this is a very busy part of downtown. And we'll be letting all of the other business owners know, how the streets are going to be closed or sidewalks. So they've been great about that, but I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you. Yep. So here we are. So it's been almost sitting for 18 months since we've last touched it. So 2 Halloweens ago, I remember with the square. The scarecrows at the square is actually when we were doing the interior demolition for when it was Century 21. So it's been sitting vacant for that long. Finally, they do have 2 tenants. Both are under design and should be expected to submit for permit for both of those spaces. One being Biscuit Belly, which is similar to I believe it's gonna be similar to like a Vicious Biscuit, which if you've ever been by Nexton, you can only imagine how many people will be going through there. And then also the other right now most likely is going to be Esthetician, I believe. So just to give a little bit of reference on who the future tenants are, what it's going to be. So we inherited this building. We've been working with this building for quite over a year. There's a lot of detrimental repair. For example, if you go by this building, you may not at first notice how bad the repairs are needed. The whole back wall is actually falling apart. You can probably stick your finger, look through the wall on the back CMU part. There's a lot of water issues. The repair, there's a gutter, a downspout that actually goes beautifully straight to the footing and to the corner of the building for who knows how many years. So it was unfortunately very neglected, and it's kind of brought us to where we are today. Long story short, with all these drawings, it's going to be essentially a new building. So I guess do y'all just want me to proceed going through what we're doing and so on and so forth? So.
If you just want to walk
Yeah.
through the changes and then I can jump.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll start with the front storefront. So if you look to the left, that single door, currently that's recessed back. That's been a flood issue if you've known anyone who's worked in that building. How the sidewalk comes down, there's that recessed part to where it flattens out, and there's enough water runoff just catches that edge there to where we've been told many times that people hated working there because it would always flood. Yep, right there. So what we're proposing right there is to, instead of that recess, we're to bring that closer to the storefront to make everything the same plane. The storefront will be all a 1-for-1 swap. Currently, right now, everything around the storefront, you could take a screwdriver and poke through the rotten bands around the storefront. So all the 2x, everything's rotten. The storefront, it cannot be saved. We're just recommending going back with, typical standard storefront, same standard door. The difference on the front and the entrance, because what we kind of had mentioned, and I said the biscuit belly, just to kind of give you an idea of how many people probably are going to come in and out. We've been recommending 2 doors versus that single door with the glass block. Also, because of the type of demolition that we're going to have to take, the slab, if you can imagine, with a downspout going underneath the footing for however many years, the interior slab is essentially, we're going to have to take that entire interior slab out. So you can't, even if you tried to put flooring over top of it, the amount of floor leveler you would have to do would be outrageous. And, you get to a certain point where you can fix some deflections and slabs and some issues, but it's
You're
not
talking about taking the entire
interior slab. Yes, sir. We'll leave a ribbon slab. So kind of what you would see with a spec building, it would end up, which is, I know is not exterior, but we do have to take down those doors and glass block with that storefront in order to get equipment inside the building in order to do what we need to do.
And then is the new door still recessed like that or not?
Yes, ma'am. I believe there's essentially the glass block ends up being storefront.
Okay.
The only thing that's being changed from a plane point of view is that left door. Sorry, I know we've sent so many. Becca's been awesome. So it's been quite the DOT approval and, well, you can kind of see it, but that storefront, yes, ma'am, it would still be the same how it is. It's not going to poke out or anything like that. And you can kind of see how it still shows that shadow of where you would walk in. And that's great because it offers kind of
Will be 2 doors and storefront.
yes, ma'am. So it essentially, glass block's gone and picture storefront, which is better view. You can see outside a little bit better, better inside with traffic oncoming through those double doors.
Yeah.
And then, so what we're proposing, so to stop myself. So that's kind of what we're proposing on the front. We are going to have to do some brick repair as we bring that storefront on the left section, that single door out. So we're going to try to use the exact same brick, but as many of you know, trying to once you start with the new mortar versus the old, and we're going to already have to do a fair amount of, probably the whole front 2 sides of those buildings will have to be pointed, which, as you can imagine, that's not going to be nice. That's why we're proposing the paint to really give it that. I think if we don't paint it or are not approved to paint it, I think you're want to have to change that later. So that's kind of what those 2 storefront sides, and also you'll see is that the tenant has requested to add those 3 storefront windows along Short Central, which to me, there you go, actually adds a little bit more to the building. And also that area was also there's some brick stepping there anyways, so it was already gonna have to be addressed to a point. So the storefront kind of goes in nicely with that. And then again, it would match what's along the front. And to me, there's so much storefront along that front, adding an additional storefront on that side kind of, I think, is very cohesive in a sense. And then you'll see we're infilling 2 openings there that are currently filled with plywood. So another just miscellaneous brick infill and repair that will be ongoing, which again goes back to that brick painting. So that's kind of the 2 on the exterior, and that canopy obviously would be removed. And that's where you would see that new storefront there. So that window would disappear. So I think it's all is going to be for the better of the building. And you can already see kind of there's 2 different colors as you can see it right there, or 3 really, and to the left where that canopy is. So that is the 2 sides, and that's what's being taken place there. And then I can keep walking through if you guys are good there.
I had no idea there was so much disrepair on that building.
If you would like to go, if you want to go walk in there sometime, I would be more than happy to take you. But if you go back, when you leave wherever your car is parked, just go back in that back alley and then look kind of where that recessed rock gravel area is and take a look at that wall.
It's awful.
And you'll see, and it's, you don't really notice it until you're the ones that are gonna have to figure out what the
Was
price
it-
is.
Oh,
Was this building built by the town? Is this part of,
It was owned previously by the town. I do not know if it was necessarily built by the
part
town,
of,
but it was currently owned by the town prior to this. So I didn't want to necessarily, but,
Becca, could you also show us like the street view of the Easton, like in the context with all the other buildings? You had one that showed a lot of buildings around it. Yeah.
Or we can just go to street view now.
and that rendering also it's not a perfect rendering, as many of you know, renderings aren't the exact, but we do have a rendering of kind of what it would look like with that painted brick.
And what color did you say?
It's some Charleston white. I forget the exact. We submitted the color. It's a Charleston white, if that's.
Historic.
It is, yes, ma'am. I know there's so many. And there you can see the detail of that. Sorry.
that a creamy white, I guess?
Yes, sir. It's not like
Well, that looks like it's more whitewash than white.
yeah.
with the rendering, yes, ma'am.
I like that though.
My worry is when I looked at your renderings, I thought, oh, I get it. But when I've been through that area and when you look at the street view, everything around it is brick.
Well, it's right across from us. If you can turn around, that's a painted brick building right there, right across from it.
Small scale.
Yes, ma'am.
This has a lot more wall.
I would.
And we really worked with them to break up the massing and not have a lot of brick showing.
Just the brick pointing and the mortar and the infill.
So.
It's gonna be it's gonna
so
really.
What would it be if it was, say, whitewashed as opposed to painted?
So and we talked even too about a stain, because the brick is very porous.
Yeah.
And so the stain actually allows it to breathe versus the paint doesn't give the ability to breathe.
Yeah.
But I don't think I think as long as I don't think that's a huge deal either way. We do have a building envelope consultant that works with us and does a lot of work. We would go with that recommendation as far as the stain versus the paint, to ensure that it also is the right thing for the envelope of the building as well. But to your point, I think it's, as long as we can get on board of making sure that we can, whether it's a stain, the
I
paint.
mean, I appreciate repairing brick is really, really difficult and it can look worse if you've got it very patchy looking. But I also think, given that this is a red brick and it's in a block that's brick, there is something really attractive about seeing pieces of that color peek through.
Sure.
And and that you can still see a little bit of its, like, we're not trying to hide and pretend that it's all new, it isn't.
Yes, ma'am.
But I do think that I guess I'm just worried. I mean, I've seen some brick, the Sutton brick painted, and it's so monolithic, it just becomes the color. And I'm not sure that's the right solution in our historic district, especially in our like central downtown piece. So that's just my worry about what you're doing. Everything else you've said, it was like totally great. I'm glad that you're fixing it up. I'm glad you found time.
No, we're fortunate to be a part of this one.
For is, I think, like fair and reasonable.
I hate to see that big white, I just, would be shocking, to see it stand out like that. I don't know what option you can do.
If it looked like that, that would. be
Yes, yeah.
It's a beautiful accent. So an accent.
Now, that rendering is not correct, is it? No.
This was previously done.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Doesn't have
Not gonna look like that,
Yeah.
yeah.
This was done, that rendering, believe it or not, was actually, that's also almost 18 months old as well. So,
Even if it was tan or camel or something, if it couldn't be whitewashed, I don't know if it's possible to do the whitewash. It would feel like it fits that area better than this big, huge white elephant.
Right.
Could we see a sample board? Is that
Yeah,
possible to see?
I think we could, yeah, we could do something to
So we can see, painted.
versus
Mhm.
stained or
Whitewash or stained or give
Okay.
us some options to let us.
some real options. for-
that'd be the last thing you'd do. I mean, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. So if that was something we could get necessarily approved to proceed with the
Gotcha.
shell and then come back and provide like a real conception of what that exterior would be, that would be super helpful because
Okay.
I know the tenants are definitely, especially the restaurant are they want to be open yesterday. So if you can
Yeah.
imagine, so
Are the lights on the exterior, those gas? Or is that electric?
They've got these lights here. Those are street lamps. that are
Yeah, I
here.
was just wondering these little.
Yeah.
little
those
level ones
lights.
inside.
don't, yeah. Those, that I think that's just a rendering.
Okay.
So
Please put them there.
It needs lighting. It needs something to break
Yeah.
up that.
Well, I think definitely getting, those replacing those exterior light fixtures, getting everything fresh and getting everything clean.
Mhm.
It's actually requires a full roof replacement and, yes, it's a whole full tear off and yes. And
Sounds like you would have been better off tearing it down and rebuilding.
that was part of it's,
That was thought.
yeah, it's almost to that point because not to get on a different note, but there was even talks of possibly a rooftop there and whatnot, and that was a whole nother deal. But the back wall, so we are tearing down that entire rear wall, and I don't want to miss that. Obviously, it's not a very high traffic area. It's kind of wet, damp back there. But the plan right there is part of the wall is fine on that. If you're looking at the building, that left side, which is going to be the smaller tenant, the esthetician, that wall is actually in decent shape. It's everything closest to Short Central. So that whole back wall will come off and then it'll be a mix of infill stud. And then in order to keep it cohesive on the rear, because obviously we're going to have, and to then having all that brickwork, trying to keep everything as clean as possible, the least amount of mortar and everywhere possible along Short Central. So we're going back with light gauge metal stud infill, and then our plan is to do an EFIS cover on the back to bring that whole back in to everything's the same. So right now it's just CMU with a mix of brick, and so it definitely will be a better cleaning up of the exterior as well. Just wanted to hit on that.
Okay.
So-
I was reading somewhere about the HVAC.
So yes, ma'am. So
Roof, or is it?
So yes, ma'am, it is 2 rooftop units as well. I know that was kind of an item that I know, whether or not that would require screening or not. The HVAC units these days, you are able to get a screening with the unit itself when you order it for certain units. But that was something I guess that would need to be, like, you all would need to have your
We'd want-
How high is the parapet around that building?
I don't know. It's not, Becca, I think we have a picture from the parking garage, maybe.
let's
I know I didn't
see.
write some, which isn't helpful.
Like from the perspective of the parking?
Yeah, or
lot?
the rear. I have a picture. Oh,
This
there.
one, maybe, if I can.
darn it. They need like
No,
5 degrees up. So that's still not,
Not very high.
it's no, sir. It's not very high. To answer the quick question is no, sir, it's not very high. The units will be towards the rear. Um,
no, I don't think.
I know the trees, I've never caught myself necessarily looking up that way.
This
And
is the top of the elevator shaft on the parking garage, if that means anything to you. And then this is the front corner of the parking garage right there. So that's the elevator shaft.
and then we do have a whole site logistics plan because we're gonna have to end up fencing this area and bracing these walls, which is a whole nother. It's we exposed all the roof rafters though and everything. It's beautiful building. And then we've gotten our approval from DOT and everything as far as it goes with that. And then we're actually leasing that orange highlighted area as a laydown area to try to keep traffic off Short Central and West Richardson as much as possible. So as fast as we can get deliveries, happier everyone is. So we will be fencing in that area as well. And just trying to make it as clean as possible. So the more stuff that we can get off quicker, the less traffic's held up. So we try to be pretty thoughtful and thorough on this.
Do they make rooftop units that are shallower and flatter, so that they fit better without having to have?
My immediate question, I would probably say no, but that's something that I don't know specifically, but I do know they have a screening part of the HVAC, which is an add to that unit itself so where you go ahead and pay for the screening. And maybe that be something that
Like Luford.
I believe so, yes.
So what you've presented us is really just the front and the side, not the back. You're talking about the back, but you're not getting specific about that back wall because you're gonna have to tear it down and
It's gonna be tear down and then it'll eventually end up just being one ephes wall. So it'll be kind of like a stucco finish in a sense. And then it'll all be a painted finished to where it's all matches versus right now it's kind of 2-3 different things. And then there's a mechanical closet back there currently. Well, there's a unit back there, but it's probably full of mildew and mold. But anyways, that little funky structure with the broken door, we're taking that down and then we're putting the panels, we're mounting everything to where directly to it and cleaning up all the utilities to the back. So everything should be very clean, it just should make a lot more sense.
greatly improved.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it's about as much as a building.
Yeah, I'm not sure either about the painting. Kind of have mixed feelings about that too.
I think if we don't paint, I think there needs to be some type of variation, whether it be, kind of that, trying to think of the term.
I don't know what the exact.
But I understand, yeah, I think it needs some color, it's gonna have to have some color in order to hide, to cover that brick point up in those repairs. So I understand not giving looks like someone just layered on 10 layers of white. I think that's what the concern is, to where it's hard to even tell if it's a brick. So, but I would highly suggest that we probably need to do something with a color in order to kind of make everything mesh together.
Yeah, I have worked where we've added a color over, but it's not solid. And so you can still get.
And I think that's that brick staining versus that
Is that
brick.
like the lime wash? Is it a line
There's
wash?
bunch of different.
Yeah.
There's several different ways we could go about it.
But I mean, I think that we should, or I'll make, well, I think that we should say, yes, what you're doing, all seems fine back, all of these pieces, but that we would like to have, something to see on site
Sure.
where we can see different options.
And I know what you're shooting for, so I can kind of gauge that, and that's good homework for
Because
us.
that is a really critical part of how it looks in the end and how it fits in that neighborhood and still then honors our guidelines, which discourages the
Sure.
painting.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, hopefully no other buildings are like this. So from a structural and because that whole front wall, part of our site logistics, that whole front wall and rear wall all have to be raised, and the back wall has to be shored. So it's quite the, it's a small job. It's a very big, small job. So it's a lot to it.
Yeah.
So we're looking for it. It should be fun.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the design for the repairs and changes and subject to the final finish on the exterior brick.
Sure.
To be reviewed and approved.
Sure.
Once we can see samples.
And the trim? And the trim, as far as the final colors on the brick and whatever the trim is?
I'm not sure there will be trim, Nancy, like they've got storefront windows.
Mhm.
Will you have trim? I didn't see.
I'm not sure, like,
The front, the doors.
yes, ma'am. That'll all just be, the only difference between those front doors is where you see glass block, it'll end up being the same storefront framing that matches the windows. That's what you mean.
Okay.
We need to make a mention of the units on the roof.
Yes, you need to address that, please.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the design as submitted with the following caveats. One is that we need to see options of how you're going to finish that brick, and we will approve it at that point. And secondly, that the rooftop units need to be screened, and how that is done needs to be addressed. Can that be in-house, Becca, or does it have to come back to us?
I can review it at a staff level if y'all are comfortable with that and have the color come back or the finish of the building come back to y'all for board review.
Right, that's what I would say is that the screening can be approved at staff level, but the color that will be seen from the street needs to come back to us.
Sure.
In conjunction with what you're doing.
Okay, I'll stand on and take a picture. You can take.
I'll second that motion.
Nancy Bowman, David,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Nancy Jean,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
and mine, yes.
Appreciate it. And this will give us, so this will allow us to continue with our permit process with the shell? Okay, cool.
So, yeah, sorry. So I'll put a condition of approval on the building permit with their conditions, just
Okay.
stating that the building can't be finished until the color.
Plenty of work to do.
Yeah,
except-
I figured.
Your plate is full.
Yes, ma'am.
Just keep in mind, and I think I've already sent this to you guys, but the board does only meet once a month, the first Tuesday of every month. So just be mindful of that. I don't want you guys to get down to like the wire and,
Ideally, it'd be all this will be resolved in the next 30 days.
okay.
So.
Okay. Yeah.
We have
well,
about 4 months roughly, and then hopefully we're getting the 2 upfit permits in to where they're kind of, coincide at the same time.
Okay, well, I'll follow up tomorrow and send y'all an email, just kind of explaining the next steps and where you guys are at.
Cool. Appreciate it. Yeah. Looking forward to making this a little bit better.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, y'all, I don't have anything additional for you tonight, so if we can get a motion, we can adjourn.
Make motion?
We have a report.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I made contact today. I have not heard back from the director of the Clemson Historic Preservation facility in Charleston.
Cool.
Okay.
That's in the right direction.
Yes, awesome.
Agreed.
You said a professor?
Hmm.
A professor?
I think she's the head of the program based upon the website.
Cool.
Good, thank you.
She has an unpronounceable name.
Uh-oh.
She made a motion to adjourn.
You seconded.
I second.
Stand up for me. And I'll do that.
Good meeting.
All right.